going?
Things are well.
I see you got your COVID, right?
What's that?
I said, I see you got your COVID growth going on as well.
Oh yeah. So it's kind
All
of
right.
relaxing. It's chill.
It is, right? It is.
Yeah,
It is.
I'm doing a movie like this anyway, so I got to stay looking like this for another week or so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. That's great.
Cool.
That's great. Well, it's 2 minutes after the hour. We're gonna have some more kids coming on. So we'll get the show started. First and foremost, thank you for doing this for us. Greatly appreciate this. So we'll start with an introduction. Today we have Michael Jai White, little international actor, superstar, played in a lot of movies before some of you guys came onto this great planet. And some of them you might know about, some you won't, but we're gonna talk all about that. Mm-hmm. Also, a great thing is we found out recently, Mr. White is a PAL kid himself. Am I correct?
Yep. I was 12 and 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's start with that. Tell us where you're from.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and then I moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And as a teenager, I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which was, kind of a rough upbringing. So it was tougher than Brooklyn. A lot of people don't know that because it was of Connecticut. You think of nice communities and stuff like that. You think of suburbs, but Connecticut was like a combination of ghettos and nice suburbs.
So then, let me ask you one quick question, because it's tough upbringing, and to me, the toughest thing about the East Coast is that winter that you get, all that snow.
Well, that's kind of tough, but I mean, it's some of the danger dies down during that time. The street danger dies down. It's too cold, so ain't nobody robbing nobody when everybody's like this, So yeah.
I wanted to know. So they take a pause to the criminal activity and all the danger stuff when it gets freezing out there.
Yeah, unless they want to get taken to a warm jail outside. But so it's the rough part about the East Coast is that it's just the East Coast is a lot more congested, and anywhere there are people kind of living on top of each other, it gets a lot more. People become a lot more aggressive. Just like any animal together, they're gonna get more aggressive.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Bridgeport, Connecticut. What led you to the PAL program out there?
Well, I mean, I needed I was a very emotional kid, and my harsh upbringing affected me. I was about, to join the gangs and stuff like that. I had all this energy and angst, and I didn't have a positive outlet. And so joining PAL, and then later on, I got involved in this community center across town. It gave me a really, I'm just so thankful that I had a positive outlet. So I used to train in karate at the community center, and they would provide me with equipment and everything. And then I began teaching my own class there when I was 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they allowed me to train there and teach class, and I wound up with over 200 students. Wow. At 15. Yeah.
Sounds like you changed your program around.
Oh yeah. I mean, because I used to be put in the paper because I used to fight men's divisions when I was 15, and so I'd be put in the paper as somebody who won the heavyweight karate title, And so the people who ran the community center thought I was a grown man because I'm in the paper winning the men's division. I didn't let people know how young I was. They just assumed.
You lost weight.
Yes. Was that? Yeah. So you know, that's how I got a chance to teach karate and make money at such a young age.
That is awesome. So let's rewind it back a little bit. So you said you started training your martial arts at the community center, or was it through the PAL program?
No, I was training martial arts since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And when I was at PAL, I started boxing. I was boxing the 13 and under category, but they said I was a little too big because I stopped growing at 13, 14. Like I was already 6'2". And so I was just big real early. Kind of like Mike Tyson, you know, he stopped growing at around 14 as well. But we were just big, and I could never convince anybody I was my age. Like I tried to get into movie theaters with the 13 and under price, and they weren't having it. They're like, no, you have to pay the adult price or go away. And I'm like, no, I swear I'm 13. I mean, you don't have ID at that time, but I had a deep voice and I was big, and just nobody believed me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it work for me. Okay, you think I'm 16? I'm 16.
Wait, I thought that was Officer Lee. Oh, you see me?
Right.
Brother White, I'm Officer Lear. As being the only people on this chat that are over 6'2", I can relate to your story.
Yeah.
You know, having the deep voice and big muscles at a young kid, I can relate to your story. So
right. Yeah, you get away with a lot.
Amen.
He has a height, but he still speaks in that falsetto. Don't let him fool you. So back to the real questions that we're at. So with PAL, you started boxing. You started martial arts at 8 years old. Sure.
My first martial art, but and so I'm familiar with V-Jitsu. There was a massive visitation who started, who's the teacher, started a lot of people on the East Coast into that brand of jiu-jitsu. So I'm from that.
What was the second?
Yes, some of you will probably have to
I'm
mute.
sorry.
That's okay.
Can you mute this person, please? Thank you. All right. Sorry. Continue on.
Yeah. So Shotokan was very popular. It probably was the most popular karate there was. It's very technical. Especially it's the first kind of karate that came into the States.
So I'm a total novice to this. What's the difference between Shotokan, Jiu-Jitsu, and karate?
Okay, well, Shotokan is karate.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jiu-Jitsu is kind of like it has where you put holds on. You know, you have submission holds, and it's kind of in that grappling type of thing. And so it's very popular now because you see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what you're seeing in MMA a lot of times, where you see the choke holds and all of that. The difference is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is done primarily without the gi, the uniform. The first type of Jiu-Jitsu, the uniform is actually part of a weapon. You know, you use it like, almost like handles. So it's kind of connected to judo a bit, where there is like, the hand-to-hand, very close combat type of thing. Not much in striking. There was really no striking in Japanese jiu-jitsu.
Michael, thank you greatly for explaining that to him, because all our kids kind of know that since they train in judo, BJJ, and karate. But he
Uh-huh.
likes to wear show enough pajamas to bed, and so he pretends he knows these things, okay? And so I appreciate you explaining that so he can kind of sound like he knows what he's talking about next time.
Well, that's good.
That's what I thought jujitsu meant. Grown men in pajamas hugging each other.
Okay.
Partially right, okay? But hey, moving along. No. So the style of jiu-jitsu you did, you said was a V Arnis. Now that's a very prominent style on the East Coast. Can you tell our kids a little bit about that?
Yeah. It was a Filipino man named Florenio Visitation, who had his own brand of jiu-jitsu, and he called it V-Jitsu. And so it got very popular on the East Coast, and especially with like this guy who was a student and proclaimed himself Master Moses Powell, who was a very influential and very enigmatic figure who got a big following of people that you know behind him, and he made the style a lot more popular. And so, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, you can argue that a lot of it is kind of in show, you know, kind of not very applicable, you know. So a lot of it's very, like, you know, for presentation, in my opinion.
I'd like to rewind a little bit if you don't mind. I missed it. What'd you say?
There's other words for what I'm saying. You know, there's much
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree as well.
Yeah.
So if we can, so all the kids on our video are all PAL kids. The PAL program here, we service about 300, 350 kids or so. Talk to us about the PAL program there on the East Coast in New York, where it was originally created. How big was it? How intense was it? How much structure did you get out of it?
Well, I mean, it was, you know, started by police officers, cops. I wasn't, you know, I started it. I wasn't in it very long, again, because it was kind of unfair, because I was fighting actual 13-year-olds that were like just much smaller than me. I just, you know, I was so big, and so I would kind of help demonstrate with the instructor, but it was, you know, parents would take their kids out if I was boxing with them.
Got it.
Like I said, you know, so I didn't do it for very long. Plus, I was already a black belt in karate, and so my striking was just, not only was I big, I was just, you know, I was already been doing karate for a long time. So I didn't know how extensive it was. I know early on I came in and then would just help out.
Speaking about your size, you just touched on it a little bit. What did you do to get so big? I know genetics plays a big part of it, but I've seen you in some movies where you're a pretty massive guy. What did you do to build the
well, honestly, genetics played everything in it at that time. You know, I did start lifting weights early, and so I believe I might have stunted my growth because I didn't grow much after that. But what I always tell people, don't start lifting weights too early. Just like when you see people who are getting into gymnastics, and when they're young and their body is still trying to grow, you start to bind your bones are still trying to grow, and if you build tense muscles, it's gonna hold your bones back from growing. That's why you can see professional gymnasts, and they may have siblings that are far taller than them. Is because they've started they kind of did too much you know, strenuous exercise early on. You know, I believe there's a mean, to bind someone's growth is not that hard. Just like in China, it's very popular that women would bind their feet in bandages so their feet don't grow. So you're basically binding yourself when you kind of develop so much muscle early that it'll tend to fight your natural growth pattern.
Fair. Did you start off doing push-ups before you started lifting weights? Were you doing any?
Yeah, my mother refused to get me weights. So what I did was I created my own weight system. I saved milk jugs, like the plastic milk jugs, and I used to fill them with water and lift those, right? And sometimes I would put those milk jugs on a long stick, and I'd have I'd lift them and do curls with 4 milk jugs on each side, just to make my own weights. Yeah, and I did push-ups, and I used to do sit-ups 1,000 at a time. It was I had that kind of energy, and I needed that kind of outlet.
Wow, so 1,000 at a time. What advice could you give some of our youngsters here of just how to get up to number 5? Because some of them struggle, and you started young doing that. What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want them to do 1,000. I mean, I was a little obsessed with becoming stronger. I was building my armor because a lot of things in the outside world affected me. And so martial arts was my protection, it was my armor. And so I wanted to have a midsection that could take anybody's punches. And I just wanted to, just make myself a fortress, and a lot of that was internal. There was a lot of me balancing myself out with my harsh community and readying myself for battle, because that's really what it was about for me.
Funny you just said keeping your midsection built and everything, because when I was young in martial arts, and we don't do it, I instruct the kids, we don't do it today, but when you were coming up, you had the sensei with the bamboo stick to take it to your midsection and the sandbag balls, because that was what you did to toughen it besides the sit-up. So
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about on that part.
Yeah. We would go through training that was very similar to, kind of like Navy SEAL training. It was about pushing yourself to your limit and then trying to get beyond that. And so that's really what it's about, So the discipline that you develop with it is that your mind and your discipline, you can go further than most people. So that's the message.
Yes.
So I don't have the capability to share a screen, but I do want to share a photo.
Oh, okay.
That's what 1,000 sit-ups will get you, boys and girls. 1,000 sit-ups a day.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Well, that and a healthy diet, guys. Don't get fooled.
Yes, that's absolutely right. My diet used to be terrible when I was young.
And those are the 2 in your DMs.
Was that?
And those are the 2 in your DMs. See?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I was younger, I ate a lot of junk. But when I straightened out my eating, and I felt so much better. I had more energy, felt better, and I had to learn the hard way. I didn't know because I was flying blind, and there wasn't anybody teaching me proper nutrition. I had to learn that along the way.
So talk to us a little bit about proper nutrition. Some of our boys and girls might think this is interesting. I do. What are some of the things that boys and girls should cut out if they're thinking about a childhood obesity or being out of shape and out of weight or overweight?
Well, it's kind of like I could tell you a lot of stuff, but it's kind of like when you start eating good food, you feel so good that you don't want to ever go back to the junk food. And just there's certain things that's just the truth is that when somebody's like, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that's poison. A harsh fact in America, there are people who poison our citizens just to make a buck. They don't care about you. They'll put out food that's not really food. There's a lot of food that we're eating that's, when you look at it, it's not really food. Like if you ever made some potatoes, right? And you left them out for a day, what happens? You know, they get rotten. Are you going to eat that potato that's been sitting out there for like 2 days that was cooked? So if you get a McDonald's French fry that won't change for a week, do you think that's real food? It's very little bit of real potato in there. So I started thinking about how they are getting over on me. You know what I mean? They're putting artificial flavors and stuff to make my brain think it's good and want that, right? And they're putting sugar and stuff. And if you make your own, you know, back in the day we used to make Kool-Aid, right? How much sugar did it take to make a liter of Kool-Aid? So much sugar, you know? And it's like that stuff is not good for you. Over 30 years.
Wait a second. Repeat that. Rewind that. Repeat that one more time.
I haven't had a soda 30 years, and I never missed them. I mean, I started instead of soda, I started getting, you know, like seltzer water, right? I started doing. One second. One second. Hello. Is there someone ringing the doorbell? Oh yeah, Benny should be here.
So boys and girls, he said he hasn't had the. So you saw that picture I just shared with you. That picture was, I don't think there was an ounce of fat on that picture. You know, if you have a goal, if you have an objective, you gotta put as much into it as possible. And if that means cutting out certain bad foods or working out hard, some things that you got to do to get those results.
What's that?
Well, we were just saying, as far as goals, we try to teach our kids about goals and objectives. And if you want to go goal, I think Alberto said last time. Remember, Alberto, we had a bodybuilder on, and you said, "I want the arms like that." To get arms like a bodybuilder, like somebody that's in shape, like our host or like our guest today, you have to do certain things. You got to put in the work.
Yeah. Ring the doorbell and tell Niala that you're here.
Yeah, guys, can equal big results sometimes. You got to start off small.
No, ring the doorbell. I'm on the Zoom call. Remember?
How many of you guys know what Kool-Aid is?
Ring the doorbell.
Up or raise your hand.
I'm gonna have Niala
Still drinking this stuff.
Okay.
Nobody here knows what Kool-Aid is? Oh, okay, Miguel. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ariana.
I do.
Thank you, Alvin. All right. I was about to say, I know they still have those Kool-Aid commercials. It is. I know it comes in a squeeze bottle, but back in the day, it came in a package. It was powder. You dump it in water. Then after the water, you got like cups and cups of sugar, depending how sweet you wanted it. Okay, and that's what made it bad. But our guest is back.
But so, now there's some of the worst stuff that you can put in your body is that's basically poison. And whenever you read that, that means they don't care about you. They're really trying to poison you. You know, that and hydrogenated oils, those are things that cause so much disease and harmful ingredients in your food. Isn't that kind of like, so you're educated about it. It should be a little harder for you to put that to your mouth. But one thing I did to wean myself off of soda is I started getting juices, right? And mixing it with with like club soda or flavored, or just, you know, the things like that it was carbonated, like, and made my own kind of soda, my own, and those started tasting better than the regular soda to me. And so drinking juices and doing that, and then when I got used to the real flavor of real juice and the fact that I had great energy and I felt better, that was enough. I never wanted another soda.
How many packages of Flaming Hot Cheetos do you eat?
Well, I never had a Flaming Hot Cheeto.
You ain't missed nothing.
Because you know, I'm older, so Flaming Hot Cheetos came around like later, after I gave up that kind of stuff.
Ruffles.
Yeah, and, yeah, I used to have to.
I know they all gonna go up.
Officer Marta, no way. Officer
Or
Akbar,
Takis.
no
Oh, no. I'm
way.
just saying, I have eaten them before, and you know, you're educating, you're like, oh, okay, I can't do that anymore. Or maybe not as often. I'm sure you guys probably eat chips every single day, maybe more times a day than you should. But if you want to try a little goal, try going 3 days without chips, and then one day you eat only one.
I'm on a Zoom call right
and then
now,
you
so.
keep going and going. The longer you
let
can
me
wait,
call.
the better for you. And then
What's going on?
you won't have, you know, you see how you call that residue, the pink fingers, the red fingers? Can you imagine if that happens to your fingers and your tongue? Can you imagine what it does to your intestines and all your stomach, your esophagus? It's slowly eating out your intestine lining, and you don't want that. And you guys are so young. So eventually, you know, people don't change their eating habits because they're like a lot older. So you don't want to get that started while you're kids, you know, while you're
Yes.
Where are you?
still young. Yes, what?
Okay, you.
That is great information. She's absolutely right about that. I mean,
Can you come to the back,
into your
please?
body. That's one thing that we weren't taught. You have all the power of what you put in. So believe it or not,
It should be.
it's up to you. You don't have to fall victim to the advertisement.
You can go on,
and things
you can
like
go on the
that.
other
Those
side.
are very
There's a
important.
gate there. You can just walk.
But you
walk
hold it
around. Just open the
because
gate.
you
You
have
just
to
keep
put it
going.
in your mouth. You
Either
even
side.
have to go to the shelves to purchase it, you know. But if you have that control, so if you can look at it like what Officer Alcaraz just said, the power's in you guys' hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you know it's when you arm yourself with the knowledge, okay, what's the best for my health, and you can make that decision that I don't want a bunch of disease. I don't want a bunch of things that is going to hurt me in the long run. Let me tell you something. In this country, there's you know, the like say Hershey's or the oh my God. Okay. Let me ignore that. In this country, do you know that they make two types of candy bars? They make candy bars for this country, and then they make candy bars that go to other countries. Now, for this country, well, put it this way: like other countries won't let their citizens eat the poison stuff. So when all the countries outside of the U.S., they have to have real milk chocolate, right? But in this country, it's not even natural. It's not even milk chocolate anymore. So they make two different brands. That's the truth. If you go to an international market where the food, it was sent to China or whatever, and then someone sends it back, that's real milk chocolate. Just like in Mexico, they insist on, like, if you're going to have Coca-Cola, they have real sugar in their Coca-Cola and not high fructose corn syrup. So that's telling you what they're doing to our food in this country, you know? And you think about, you know, you can educate yourself and think about, okay, what's real and what's not. Like, you know, you ever go to the deli and they're slicing up some turkey, 100% turkey breast or whatever, and they're slicing it up on that big machine and they're putting it on the wax paper and you take it home. Do you think that that's really from a turkey? A piece of.
I heard that in some countries they ban Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but think about this: turkey doesn't have this much meat without a bone. That's from a liquid that's melted down and vacuum formed with fake skin on it, right? Turkey's not salty. That's just all a preservative. A lot of that is 10% meat. And they're slicing it up, making you think that it's supposed to be real. There's a lot of things that when you educate yourself, that's just not real food, but you know, they take advantage of it. But you know, there's always ways to eat healthy. You can even get healthy things from some fast food restaurants, but you have to want the grilled chicken. You have to want the grilled fish and things like that, and get away from all the high fatty fried stuff.
That is awesome information. I mean, I think you gave our kids a clinic there, and hopefully they can take the knowledge which you just shared with them and implement it. One of the questions, so some of the kids know you're a martial artist, others, well, they should if they were here in the beginning. What styles all have you practiced, and which ones do you have black belts in?
Well, I have black belts in now 8 styles. Shotokan, Shokaru, Kyokushin, Kobudo, which is the Okinawan weapon system. I do, you know, Goju. I do so, and I know, you know, Wushu, and might be forgetting one. Oh yeah, Tang Sudo. And then American kickbox. I have a black belt in American kickboxing under Bill Wallace, who's a former champion.
That is awesome. Some of our kids have met people that know Sensei Bill Wallace. Yes. So our kids, we train a style of Taekwondo / karate. So they're used to going to a lot of American Kempo tournaments. So they've met some of these legends like Benny the Jet and a lot of guys that you came up with, which they're probably like, wait, this guy, you look too young for that. But, you know, you came up.
I didn't come up with Benny. He's a lot older than me, but he was one of my instructors.
Got you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Can we now get into the transition? So you transitioned from martial artist to actor. Can we get into that? What spurred you in that direction?
Okay,
what made you
please let me clarify this, because there is a natural misconception that there was a transition. There was no transition. It's not like I started in films in martial arts and transitioned to acting. I started in acting, right? I did acting. I studied it to be, you know, I did television, I did theater, I did all of that separate from martial arts. So the two had nothing to do with each other. The only way they had something to do with each other is the discipline that I learned from martial arts guided me through everything in my life. So discipline is going to help you. That's the secret weapon of martial arts, is discipline. So there's a natural mistake that people think because maybe 1 or 2 people in life, in the history of movies, transition from martial arts into movies. Bruce Lee, a few people, you know, there's like the Jackie Chan's, whatever. But I'm not part of that group. Well, actually, to be honest with you, Bruce Lee was an actor before he was a martial artist. He was a child actor. So he's another person that did, but you know what I mean? He was always an actor first. So that's why when he did martial arts, he was, you know, adept at the acting part of it. But yeah, so I made my living as an actor first. And then the first real role that I started doing martial arts subsequent to my acting was Universal Soldier: The Return. Because by the time I did that movie, a lot of people in Hollywood thought that I was doubled. They didn't realize I really knew how to do the martial arts. So, you know, that was quite on purpose, because I wanted to be established as a legitimate, or I was established as a martial artist.
And to this date, how many films have you?
I think somebody counted 110.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat for me to believe, but it's listed. And someone had to tell me that. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. It's not really, I don't ever really think about what I've done. I'm always thinking about the future.
The next project, the next gig.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There was a nugget in what you just said. You said the basis of the martial art discipline, or the basis of martial arts, is discipline. And I think that's what we try to teach our kids in whatever it is, whatever you're trying to accomplish or whatever you're trying to do. Discipline is the root of all of anything that you're trying to get
success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Discipline. Alberto, you had a question.
Are you a stuntman? Like people who
No, I'm not a stuntman, but I do have somebody who is my stuntman. So I'm usually the lead actor. And so I have a stuntman who takes the real dangerous stuff. Like if he has to fall out of a window, or if I have to fall out of a window, or do something that could potentially hurt me, he takes over. And so he's my stuntman, but I'm not a stuntman.
a car really fast.
Yeah. Okay. That brings up some questions.
Yeah.
And you should study that stuff first. It's so it's safe.
Well, earlier we were talking about some films that you were in. I had a lot of favorites of my own, but Officer Lee suggested that you might have been in one of the Batman films. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. I was in the Dark Knight.
Whoa! And show of hands, any of you guys see Batman Dark Knight? Any one of you remember our actor in that movie? Tell us, Brother White, what were you doing in that movie? What role did you play?
Well, I played a character named Gamble. Remember when the Joker says, "Why so serious?" He says that to me. I'm the one who was went to attack him at the table, and he opens up his coat, and he has grenades in his coat, and that stops me from attacking him. And I'm the guy, he puts the knife in my mouth and tells me the story about his father. So
you're
that guy.
You shook your head. Remember that scene? Do you remember a little bit about that?
It's been a while.
You, Alvin, you shook your head too. Do you remember? Alvin, can you hear me, Alvin?
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene he's talking about?
Yeah, I remember that scene he's talking about.
Wow. Yeah, Batman must have been a huge break for you, or a huge role for you. How did you feel being in such an iconic series like that?
It was cool, but I mean, it really didn't do anything for me career-wise at all. I mean, it was just a cool role to do. You
One
know?
of my favorite films you did was Spawn.
Oh, cool.
That was you were a lead actor in that film. How did that change roles for you or gears for you? Was that your first what is it, comic book hero?
Yeah, definitely my first comic book hero. That was the first Black superhero in the movies. So yeah, that was a great opportunity.
Amen. Amen.
We're going to open it up for some questions from some of our kids that are in our martial art program. So we'll start with the tornadoes, Miguel and Yaritza.
You say tornadoes?
Tornado.
Tornado.
Had to be Valerie.
What was one of your favorite?
You cut out for a second. What'd you say?
What was one of your favorite movies that you made?
My favorite movie that I did is a movie called Black Dynamite, which probably you guys are too young to know about. It was a comedy. It was an action comedy that I wrote and starred in.
And I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Another question is, have you like tried out judo yet?
Judo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually started. I did judo really early on. Yeah, I did that right around the same time I started martial arts. I think I was doing judo when I was about 9 or 10 years old.
What about Valerie? Valerie, you have a question? I'm sure you got something interesting.
Have you ever done your own stunt? Like any stunt in any movie?
Yeah.
Of course, Valerie.
Huh?
Yeah. In
No, I said,
Spawn,
has he done his own stunt?
Yeah, I've
Someone
done a lot
asked
of
that?
stunts. I in Spawn, you put when I was lit on fire. That was really me. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, but I got lit on fire in a movie called Exit Wounds with Steven Seagal. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but I was hanging off a helicopter, probably because I'm a little crazy and I shouldn't have been doing that, because I had a stunt guy to do that, but I thought it was really fun to hang off a helicopter while it flies away. So, yeah, sometimes I do my own stunts when I think they're fun.
All right, Mercy. Now it's your time.
Oh, Mercy's here today?
Oh, yeah. Been waiting on this interview.
Okay, I guess what I would want to ask is, like, I can tell, like, everything you've been saying, you're obviously a very, very healthy person, a very, like, disciplined person, especially with, like, your martial arts and everything. You seem to maintain, like, your schedule and everything. But, like, how do you stay motivated that way when you have, like, difficult moments, like, like if you have family issues or work issues and things like that? How do you still find the motivation to still go and practice, or the motivation to still eat healthy and everything like that?
Great question.
That's a great question. It's the way I look at things. Okay, it's not discipline for me to eat healthy. It's a right. It's something, just like even for me to work out. That's not something that's a chore. It's something that I'm blessed to be able. There are people who can't walk. There's times when I'm sick and I can't work out, and all I can think about is, wow, I can't wait to get my health back so I can work out, And so it's the way you look at it. Some of us might look at these things that are good for us as a chore, but like the way I eat, I enjoy my food the same way I enjoyed it when I was a kid eating at McDonald's. It's very easy to change your taste buds. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, it sucks when you start trying to get used to healthy eating. But it really sucks for maybe about a week, and then you get used to it. When you start giving up the sugar, then stuff that's like, if you give up sugar for a long time and then you go back to it, it's gonna really it's not gonna taste that good. When I would give up sugar for a while and then start eating even bread, I could taste sweetness in bread just because I gave up the sugar. Well, so like for me if I ate a pizza, I would feel very sluggish, my stomach, because I'm not used to having a bunch of oil and grease and bad food in my system. It's like I would have a reaction to it. And I'm not going to enjoy it the same way you guys enjoy it. Like, so when I have food that, like, say, really healthy food, like my friend just got some food from us from this very healthy restaurant. When you eat good food, you feel so much better. And so it's not discipline to eat that. It tastes better to me. When you only eat sugar and salty things, you don't taste all these other flavors that when you prepare food and there's oregano in it, and then there's paprika and all these other flavors, you start tasting, oh wow, this tastes amazing. But when I was younger, I couldn't taste all those things because I was so used to eating sugar and salt, salty stuff, chips and everything else, right? Now, food tastes better than it ever did because I can taste all the flavors. You know what I mean? And that's when your brain starts to be able to experience all of that and taste what real good food is. And all those nutrients that the good food not only tastes good, but it makes you feel good. You never want to go back. If somebody gives me donuts, I'm like, that would be terrible. Biting a donut would taste horrible for me. Horrible. Because I'm not used to that anymore. I'm used to being able to taste all kinds of good stuff and flavors. So you can change your way of eating. The problem is the way we grew up, and a lot of us, I grew up poor. We don't have some of the better foods for us, right? So we get used to just sugar and salt and fat and things like that. And we get used to that. And that becomes our pleasure. Because when you don't have much money, one of your greatest comforts is food. And if we eat a bunch of fattening things that our brain starts to like, we connect that with good. But we can change all that. Teach ourselves and train our palates, our taste buds, to appreciate other flavors. But like I say, it takes a while. Like it would take a while for me to eat donuts. It took me a long to like that again. I'd have to just like sugar. And, because it would be terrible for me right now. Just like it might be terrible for you to get yourself away from sugar. like I said, it will suck for a little while, but that's only a little while.
It's so powerful what you just said, and I'm not sure it's going to resonate with our kids. So I'm going to take a minute to reiterate what you said. It's not discipline or eating healthy foods. It's actually a pleasure to do that because it rewards your body. It does something good for your body. So if you could change your mindset, like Brother White just said, and think about working out as a treat, as a pleasure, then it's something that you might get into more. If you think about eating food with less fat, more healthy food as a reward to yourself, as opposed to something that you have to discipline yourself for, I think you'll get a lot more out of it. So changing your mindset to say that, you know, these are good things. I have to do this. It'll help you out tremendously, help us out tremendously. I shouldn't just say you, it helped everybody out tremendously. So mindset is very important. Something he just said, very, very important. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Great words of advice.
Like when I look at, like, say, here's the meal my friend brought me, right? Like this, the way this looks to me, you know, the green, you know, the flavor in it, this stuff is amazing. And I'm telling you, like, even, and if you can find things that tastes really good. Even if I had this, I wish you guys were here. The flavor of this garlic vegetables, my kids love this stuff, even though they can eat the junk stuff. Because if you could find, sometimes you could find really good tasting food that's healthy, you know? And a lot of our moms, they know how to flavor things. So if you flavor good food, then that's it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this brown rice, to me, right? This has flavor to it. It makes you imagine eating and you get energized. You know, that's like.
Where's your food from right now, Michael?
Oh, this place is from a restaurant called Hope, Hope.
Okay.
It's healthy, organic, eating. Yeah, but the P stands for something. Healthy, organic, something with a P. Eating.
Is it vegan? Is it vegetarian? Or is it protein based?
This place is
okay.
And so this food is like, you know, like, so it's really good for you. I'm trying to open up the thing. Oh, healthy, organic, positive eating.
Okay.
So the P is positive. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, it gives you, you know, you have energy and all that type of stuff. So that's what it's about. A lot of times you eat bad stuff, you're going to feel bad. You're going to be slow and you go to sleep and you have all that stuff in you.
So for the kiddos, did you notice how much green was in that container that he put up? That's pretty much what your bowl or your plate should look like. A lot of greens, then your protein, which is like your meat or your fish or your chicken. And then you can have some carbs, which he has brown rice. That's healthy carbs. So that's pretty balanced in itself. And then obviously he's not going to pair it up with a very high sugar drink. He's going to have water or his sparkling water. So that's what you want to see in your plate. More greens, more color, because the more color and more greens you have, the more nutrients and benefits your body's going to be absorbing from that.
Mercy has one more question because she has to get ready to go. So we're going to let her ask it really quick.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have a question about martial arts. So did you, whenever, I know I've been hearing that you do a lot of different martial arts, like, do you, I don't know how to say it, but because me, I was practicing judo, and I know Officer Lee told me to just focus on judo first because then I wanted to move on to Muay Thai. And Officer Lee had told me it's better to stay in one thing first and then move on to the next. Did you like mix them all together, or did you do that like just one at a time and then eventually had a lot?
I was kind of mixing a few of them, but I never stopped. Like it's like, so I was getting my black belt in one other thing, and then I would still be training somewhere else sometimes. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think it might be good to focus on that, on the one thing, and then maybe, you know, you learn the basics of some other things. That might not be bad, because the basics, practicing the basics are the most important part of any martial art. Personally, I feel like you can do judo and Muay Thai together because it doesn't confuse. They're so separate, right? And Muay Thai is only, honestly, there's only a few techniques in Muay Thai. It's not a lot of stuff. You know, you're basically kicking the same way, striking, unless you have to, you know, learn the Muay Thai dancing, you know, but it's really, how many kicks? There's like 3 kicks in Muay Thai. Like, it's really 3 or 4 kicks and pretty much the same kind of strikes. So I don't think that would confuse things. But if you were learning Shotokan while doing judo, that might be a little too much, because there's so much that you'd be doing in Shotokan.
So,
The kata.
so you think consistency like plays a role in it? Like if I wanted to learn, wanted to learn more than one, I would have to stay consistent in the other ones that I'm doing, right?
Well, again, like what I was saying, doing judo, which is a much more time consuming, right? Learning judo and then doing Muay Thai, you can do those 2 together. I don't think that's a problem at all, because Muay Thai is basically kickboxing. You're not learning forms. You're not doing a bunch of procedural things. There's not a lot of history that you need to learn. You know, you can learn Muay Thai techniques in a matter of months and just keep practicing it, really. You know, you could do Muay Thai and have a bag to train on, you know, and continue. I mean, it's not a whole lot there. So it's really just a striking art. I mean, honestly, I don't think, personally, I don't think there's even 20 techniques. So that's, you can do those 2 together in my mind. You know, even though I don't want to, you know, kind of, you know, counter what Officer Lee is talking about, but those 2 I think you could do with no problem.
Officer Lee's not teaching a lot anyway, so you're not countering much of what he's talking about.
Yeah, I got to see you 2 in the ring, because it's about to happen.
Oh, it'll be quick. It'll be real quick. It wouldn't last long.
There's the man with the Achilles problem.
Go ahead, Alberto. I think we're some of our kids got to go. Go ahead, Alberto, and then we'll get you. We'll hear our words of wisdom. I think Alberto might have left then. Oh, did he? Yeah, he said he had a question, but I guess he might have left. So, Brother White, we end this in an hour. We don't want to keep you more than that. We thank you for all your time. We thank Officer Lee for getting you on here today. It's been a real treat, a real joy. We're going to put this up on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, so we'll be able to watch it in perpetuity. Our kids will be able to watch it. But what we want to end this on is words of wisdom, some words of encouragement, something that got you through your career, got you over hard times, something that our kids can take with them going forward in their lives.
Well, again, discipline is is the secret weapon. Okay, it's the best thing about martial arts. You know, it's like just like the belt system. You're always going to be overcoming obstacles, and practicing overcoming those obstacles is a good practice for life. everything in life is about overcoming obstacles. What your biggest obstacle is, and always will be, is yourself. Okay? And so training to overcome yourself, training your discipline to do the things that's necessary, that's your biggest fight. And that's going to be the fight that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So, train to overcome yourself.
I got goosebumps. Could you just rewind that one more time? Your biggest obstacle in life is just one more time, just so that hits our kids like bam, hits them hard.
Well, it's about training yourself to overcome obstacles. You're always going to be running into obstacles, okay? And when you train, you're giving yourself harder obstacles than life can give you. You're pushing for 20 more push-ups. You're trying to run a little further. You're trying to train a little harder. And every time you do that, you're training your spirit and your discipline to overcome something. So in life, when you're faced with something, you can dig a little deeper. You can try a little harder because you're used to pushing yourself further. And it's just about, your mind is, like I say, you're your biggest obstacle. You will always be your biggest obstacle. If, there's people that you'll hear grown-ups say, oh, I got to lose weight. Well, who's going to control that? It's you, you're your biggest, they're their biggest obstacle. If they don't have the discipline to do what's necessary to get that job, to do what it takes to get that job, to do what it takes to lose that weight, to do what it takes to provide for your family, then, they're going to miss out. So that's a secret weapon. So training yourself is a kind of deep training is kind of a proving ground. You say, take all that angst and anger, all that stuff, and make yourself stronger and tougher, and say, I can overcome this. So that's really what it is.
Thank you again, man. That was great. We really appreciate it. Everybody give Mr. White a round of applause. Thank him for his time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh no, well, once we open, when we get past to share some of that knowledge that you have with these youngsters.
No problem.
Awesome.
It was a pleasure.
Guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank y'all for joining today, and until next time.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Class is a question, but I guess never mind.
Bye-bye.
What was that?
I don't know what she said.
I was going to ask you a question, but
Need
never
to
mind.
talk.
Say it
She's the
again.
one that said that.
What was your question?
Come on. Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
Hi. Grady's.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Wow, you know my name?